All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 35 of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1100 C# programming class online for the summer 2023 semester. All right, again, it's day 35. Today is Wednesday, the 19th, and we're going to do a few different things today. We're going to go over some of the homework we talked about before. All right. I've attached some input files to this email, and we'll take a look at those along with some of the programming examples. We're going to go back and look at some of the stuff we did yesterday. All right. As it says here, tomorrow, Thursday, the 20th, will be a lab day. I'm making every Thursday for the rest of the semester a lab day so that people, if you're behind on any work, now not everyone has turned in the homework through 6 due last 16th. All right. I've also decided to extend the chapters 17 and 18 due dates from this Sunday, the 23rd, to Wednesday, the 26th, a week from today. All right. But again, tomorrow will be a lab day. So as it says, no taping. You'll get no emails from me. I'll be at the Wentzville campus tomorrow. All right. I've got two meetings. Got one from 7:30 till 8. And then I'll be in the, from 8 till 12, be available if anybody has questions or concerns. We have a staff meeting where I'll be unavailable between 12 and 1 p.m. We have these the third Thursday of every month. All right. And it may not last till 1 o'clock, but I put 12 to 1. Sometimes it ends by 1:45, but we'll see. And then I'll be online again from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at least. All right. And again, if you have not turned in the chapters 12 through 16 written tests and extra exercises that were assigned and due last week, you better get them in pretty fast. You're going to lose points. All right. And I have started grading them. I'll try to complete the grading for that today. Same with your hands-on test. All right. And I know I have at least one person who has not completed the hands-on test. They got a hold of me. They have a commitment literally in another country, and that is why. But to them also, please get that in as soon as possible. Finally, again, your chapters 17 and 18, the stuff we're on now, the file IO and the file IO and the link stuff. Written tests, any lab projects we might do, any extra exercises, and that worksheet. All right, they're all due by next Wednesday now. All right, so speaking of that worksheet, all right, yesterday we went over this. Lab 01, the song search, we did it as we did this as a console app. Feel free to do the same. Or, as you'll see in a couple minutes, you can also do it as a GUI app. All right, you're going to see mine in just a couple minutes. We also did this one yesterday, this employee search, which again we did as a console app. All right, I'm not going to go through that one today. I have decided I am going to go through and do this one. Okay. Now, I didn't do it exactly like this now that I look at it, but I've got a good start on it. All right, all I have to do is, I didn't put the search in here, but I want to show you. All right, in fact, maybe I'll even make this one available. I don't know, because it is a little different because we had to read the data in from our own text file. All right, and then put it into a list. All right, at least that's what I did. All right, so I didn't create the search. You're going to see an unbelievably simplistic interface on the one I'm going to create for you. Okay. Now, one other thing, and then we're just going to get started. And that is, this morning, I went out and found an application that I so ago, and I upgraded it a little bit and put it out here. You're going to get this link later today. All right. It's out there on my GitHub repo. It's public and it's called Link Demo Modified. All right. I just gave it the name that it had. I'd originally made one called Link Demo. Then here's a surprise. I modified it. All right. If we look at this, oh, that's the song artist. I don't want to go through that one. Let me find it. I've got it right here someplace. All right, there's Link Demo Modified. The reason I'm showing you this, it's fairly long, 330 lines. And it says that what I did was I went and I took an article from a site called C# Corner. You'll notice it's a recent article. All right, it's been upgraded. Okay, and used these two classes, and then went through and ran a whole bunch of queries, basically the ones that they've run in here. All right, I added a few things to it, all right, etc. Now, when I ran this, when I first created it a year ago, I had students, in fact, maybe it was even a year and a half ago. It was one of the last times I had students in the classroom, so I changed the names around. Also, I came back in this morning and added a library to this. So I've got a link library, all right, and that link library has in it an employee.cs file. You can see how simple this is. All right, an employee has an ID, a name, and a project ID. All right, we also have a project class. So we've got an employee class, that's it, that's the whole thing. And we've got a project class, which is about the same size, 10 lines and 11 lines. So pretty much the same thing. All right, and you'll notice again, we've got here a project ID, a public int project ID, and here we've got a public int project ID. All right, again, I base it off that article that I just showed you. All right, so why am I going through the time and trouble to tell you about this? Well, let's take a look at what's in the program file itself. All right, so you'll notice the first thing that we do is we create a couple lists. We create an employee list and we create a project list. All right, and eventually we want to merge those together. All right, so you'll notice in here I first call initialize employees, then I call initialize projects. So let's look. So here's initialize employees. All right. So I added 7 people, myself, and then 6 mythical people. Each one of these people, since they're an employee, they each have an ID, an employee name, and a project ID. The same thing we just looked at in there. So I'm adding to this employee list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 employees. Then I also created a project list, and you'll notice there's only 2 projects. Project ID 100, all right, which means that you're working on the company website, and project ID 101, which means you're working on a C# payroll program. So when you look in here, we got 100 and 101. So you can see that, for example, Ron Kent is working on project company website, whereas Martha Palmer, Jack Black, etc., they're working on a C# payroll program. Okay, so all we're doing at the bottom here is initializing these 2 lists. And there's so many ways you can initialize this stuff. All right, this is just the way I happen to do it. All right, so main, I wrote everything basically inside of main. You can see how big it is. All right, literally it goes down to line 262 and it starts on line 19. So it's about 240 lines approximately. All right. The reason I'm doing this though is I wanted you to see some of the stuff that's in here. All right. Not only that, I wanted you yesterday, we concentrated basically virtually totally on what's called query syntax. All right. And I wanted to show you if I do something like this using query syntax, I can also do it like this using what's called method syntax. So I went in and ran a series of queries where I did them both using query syntax and method syntax. Query syntax, method syntax, all the way down. All right. And I don't really want to take a lot of time to go over this, but if you do look at it, if I run the program, here's my output. Let me make it nice and big so you can see what's going on here. All right. So you'll see as we start, this thing said, I want all employees where their name ends with a K, and that's these two. It's not this K or this K, because this is the end of their name, so it ends with a K. So we had Mark Kramer and Jack Black. Then we asked for all employees whose name started with a J, and that was Sally Jones. All right. And you can see how you can use these queries using both the query syntax yesterday and the method syntax, which was discussed and briefly demonstrated, but we really didn't go over it much yesterday. All right. So now here I've got the people in ascending order using query syntax and ascending order using method syntax. You can see the outputs are the same, but in the first case, all right, in the first case that's there, we're running this query. Very similar to what we did yesterday. And in the second case, you can see how much simpler the syntax is. And it uses that lambda syntax. All right, just so you can see, kind of compare and contrast the two. All right. Well, I guess once I did that, it kind of just screwed up my output. So there we go. Okay, let me make this nice and big. All right. Then we did them in descending order. Pretty obvious what's going on there. Then by inquiry syntax, so that's using a then. All right. What did that do? That showed the person's name followed by a colon, followed by the project that person is working on. All right. But it allowed you to get information from two different lists. In fact, I don't even think it did. This is the then by, so I don't even think we did that. Let's look here. There it is. All right. So we're saying here that we want it ordered by ID, then by the employee name. So all of the 100s should come first, and then those 100 should be in order by the employee last name in ascending order. All right. So let's see. So you'll notice all the 100s, and I guess we use descending here, and then all the 101s in descending order. And again, you can see them, that was then by descending. You can see them used both using both syntaxes. All right. And virtually you're doing the same thing. It's just the syntax that you want to use in order to do it. That's all. All right. Then we've got a take. Select employee dot take two. What does that do? All right. It just selects two of them. And we said select employee dot take two. Just give us two of them. All right. There's some more takes in there. Again, the idea there's a skip, which is going to skip over. So this shouldn't show the first two if we bring up that skip. And you can see Scott, Jeff, and Joe and Sally are now out of there. Again, using both the query syntax and the method syntax. Then we did a group. What is that? That's actually doing some of these aggregate functions that we discussed yesterday. What do I mean? This says we have 4 people working on project 100 and 3 people working on project 101. All right. Then we've got a first, which says, show us the first name that's in there. All right. You can also use first and default. First or default. So if there would have been no names in there, we could have put something in there like no names available or whatever. Finally, we've got a couple of joins in here. This is combining information from both lists. Now, what we're using now in here is link, but we're using it on lists. Next week, we're going to look at how to do similar operations to this, but how to do them using databases. All right. And I'm still in the middle of formulating how I want to show you this stuff next week. We'll see how it goes. But this is getting the name from the employee list, and this is getting the project from the project list. So again, we saw up above, you can look at each employee and their project number. But if you don't know what name that number corresponds to, you'd rather do something like this. All right. And then finally, don't worry about the left join. We'll talk about that later. The point, though, is this. You now, if you're interested, have got this as another thing, trying to give you a bunch of resources that you can look at, look through, etc. Okay. All right. That's enough of that. So again, you will get this today. It's out there on GitHub, and it's right there. It's called Link Demo Modified. Hopefully, you run into any issues, it might give you some help. I don't know. All right. So next, let's look at the song list. Now, when I run this one, I'm going to run it, then we're going to go back and look at everything. So songs in ascending order by title. So notice when I click search, this will fill in, and so will this. I mean, that's no big thing, but you can see it's pretty obvious that these are in alphabetic order. All right, I did this all ascending. I could have done any of this in descending as well. So this is artist. All right, and again, you can see that it's in ascending order. And then finally, we've got it by genre. And again, it's in order. All right, so everything in there appears to work, just like we did yesterday. Song by title, and I think yesterday we did this, and I brought in one of those Visual Basic input boxes here. I think we used love in here yesterday. And there's our titles that have love in them. All right. If we go in and say artist, and I search and I put in Garth for Garth Brooks, it finds the 2 Garth Brooks listings that are in there. And finally, when I go in and I search by genre and I ask for, I don't know, let's say rock, it's going to find 3 kinds. There was rock, there was rock and roll, and there was soft rock. And you'll notice there's rock, there's a bunch of rock and rolls, and there's soft rock. There's all sorts of things, other things we could have done with this, just so you know. All right. And what I'm saying is, all right, We could have used some of the stuff in that program I just showed you to do counts and a bunch of other stuff, but I didn't do any of that. I just basically did the same thing, and I first did it as a console app. Then I went back and redid it, all right, as a GUI app. Now, probably the hardest thing with doing this is getting this stuff in here and having it line up. May not sound like much, but it takes a bit of work. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is if we look in our book here, and this is on page 597. Notice what it says. We've got this thing, a very similar type of thing here, where we've got 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, and everything looks pretty good. All right. But it says in here, this customer invoice form uses a list view. Well, why am I telling you that? Because that's what this is. This is a list view. It is not a list box. It is a list view. All right. It's used to display, in this case, a list of invoices for each customer. To make this work, the view property of the list view must be set to details, and that causes the data for the items to be displayed in columns. What does that mean? Let's go back to the program. Let's stop the run, and then let's take a look at this. All right, if I come down here to view, I click on this and come down here to view, you'll see that it says details. But I could have also chosen large icon, small icon, list, and title. And I believe if I choose one of the other ones, that goes away. And if I run this, I don't know what it's going to look like. That'll work. But you'll notice I don't have my titles in here anymore that I had before. It looks like it's still showing everything, but notice how it's showing it too. All right. When it runs out of room, it's going to the right rather than going down, and it's giving me a horizontal scroll bar rather than a vertical scroll bar. All right. And if I go and choose one of the other ones in there, like tile, and I run it, the same thing. All right. Well, notice here, it's kind of like we've done this kind of thing before where we've got, let's see, this is artists in ascending order. Beatles, Bee Gees, okay? And it really is not, it is in order, yet it's not in order. I don't even know if that makes any sense. All right. It is in order, but it's got stuff in there we probably wouldn't have wanted. All right. Or at least not wanted in that order. All right. Let's stop it one more time. And let's try changing the view in here to large icons. All right. Those are basically those large icons, I believe, are like the first letter in the name. I could be wrong. All right. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. If I clear it and run it one last time, all right, and I change the view in here again, the small icon, then you've seen all of them, and I run it again, it's going to look kind of like it just did, except the icons will be smaller. Oh, it doesn't even. Look at that. Now, does it have the song list? Yes. Are they in order? It looks like it, but there's not a lot of rhyme and reason to it. All right. However, when I go back now and set it to what we wanted it set to, which was details, then my headings come in here. And there's a certain amount that I dedicated to each one of these. All right. But now when you run it, I do get those headings in there. See that? That regardless of whether I choose to search the headings are in there, or when I clear, they're still in there, or if I do it by artist and search, they're still in there. All right. It makes it a little bit better. You also notice, hopefully, that as I scroll through, the titles don't move. All right. And that was because we set that thing up as D. And they don't talk about it much in the book, but they do mention it here on page 597. So again, to make this work, the view property is set to details, which causes the data items to be displayed in columns. You just saw that. All right. In addition, the column headers for the control were added using the column header collection editor. To display this editor, you can select edit columns from the smart tag menu that's displayed. What the hell does that mean? Let's go back and look. All right. If I click on this, let's see. All right. I think I have to right now I've got this locked. I think if I unlock this, all right, there's the smart tag right there. It's a little arrow that you see up there. That's a smart tag. And if I click on it, notice what we have there. It says I wanted the view to be a details view. All right. There's an edit items in there. There is an edit columns in there. And notice what we said. We wanted the 0th column to be title, the 1 column to be artist, and the 2 column to be genre. All right. And we set up a width for each one of these. So title has got a width of 340. Artist has got a width of 250. Genre has got a width of 200. So it would all fit in this box. All right. The title took up the most room. All right. And when we look in here, we're aligning the text left, left, and left. We want the text for the title to be title, the text for the artist to be artist, and the text for the genre to be genre. You start working with a lot of these editors like that are shown here. We're going to start working with some of this stuff next week when we get in and start working with databases. All right. I pretty much come to the conclusion that next Monday is all going to be about chapter 19. Next Tuesday is all going to be about chapter 20. Then on Wednesday, we'll take a look at some of the information or some of the stuff. So if we look in here for the projects, that'll get us into part 5 of the projects, this tech support database. I don't want to say any more about it now because we haven't talked any at all about databases. So it doesn't really pay to do that. All right. Okay. So that's it for this one on that, but let's take a look at the whole program. And you hopefully will notice how similar rather it is to the console one that we did. Okay. We've still got this nothing found type of stuff. Well, let's see. If we go in here now and do a search for a title, and I put in Howdy, there is nothing called Howdy. Now notice it does say no song matching search criteria. Well, we didn't have that before, but it's much easier to display. We had that in the example I showed yesterday, but it wasn't showing. We didn't really have a message box available to us because we're working on console apps. So there's the one, no song title. If we do it again and we ask for an artist, and again, I'll put in Howdy. Now we get no song artist matching the criteria. And finally, if I go and check for a genre, and again, I put in there, whoops, I don't want to show them, I want to search. And for a genre, again, I put in Howdy. Now I get that message. All right. So when we take a quick look at the whole program, then again, feel free, please feel free, do yours as a console app. And even if you don't get it done or it doesn't work, I want you to give this a try. I want you to try to do number 1, number 2, and number 3 on here. They are worth 100 points. You can do numbers 1 and 2 as console apps, and number 3, which I'm going to start for you, as a GUI app. All right? Okay. And remember, this is worth 25 points. And I've got this due Sunday, 7/16. That's got to change now to due Wednesday, and that's 7/26. All right, and I'll put that down at the bottom as well. So let's throw that in there. And like that. All right. Okay. So when we look in here again, I just showed you all those. We come in here just like we did in the console app. We set up a list of songs. Well, this should be pretty obvious what we're doing in here. And I did it right in the load event. Probably should have done a better job. I did this a while ago and I wasn't being as modular as I'm being now with writing a lot of different routines. All right. So notice what that's doing. It's telling us to grab that drop down list, which is right here. All right, right there. And first, it clears it out. Then it adds the 6 options that we have. Okay. All right. The clear, that just clears the list. And it clears that title where, so that is clearing this, even though these stay. And this right here is clearing that up here. All right. Exit. I don't even know. It looks like I don't have anything in there. So let's check. Just out of curiosity, do we have an exit button? Yeah. And it's not doing a flaming thing, is it? So I should have done the old exit program now. Here. All right. And then grab it from an old program someplace. Somewhere in here, I should be able to, card shop maybe, I don't know. I think the splash screen here had it in there. Yep, there it is. All right, so that should fix that. So let's look. First to file, save all. Okay, so that works. All right. Then we've got a search. This is very similar to what I wrote for you yesterday. All right, so decide which function to call. Well, now what we're doing this SEL just means selection. That's which of the drop downs did I choose? If it was -1, there wasn't anything chosen. So it should say you must drop down list option made. So if I run that with nothing chosen, no drop down list option made, you must select an option. All right. Then it sets the focus there and just returns. There's no more use in going on. Then we've got our show by title ascending, show by artist ascending, show by genre ascending, show by title ascending, or title search rather, artist search, and genre search. Now, this should never be hit. I probably could have just put a return there, but I just said invalid option. All right. And these are the same things that I showed you yesterday. Okay. The only difference in these, this is the same. This is the same. I had to set my title because I've got a label now, which of course we didn't have exactly, at least with the console app. And then in the for each, okay, we have to instantiate or create a new list item and we have to fill it up. All right. Basically off of the song titles. And we want also to add to that the artist and the genre. And then we add the song list. Basically, we add that item that we just did to our song list. So we're doing the same thing. And if that doesn't totally make sense, again, I think it's going to make more sense as we get into how to work with this stuff with databases. So again, there it is, ascending with artists. So it's the same thing, except we change it to artist. Genre ascending, again, it's different because we're using genre now. And then we've got our searches. And again, with that search, I went in and brought in the Visual Basic input box, as you can see in here, so that we were able to do that. And you'll notice this should say nothing inputted, no title to search for. So if I come in here and run this and say search, and then put in a title and do a search, I'm sorry, not that search by title, and I put in nothing, he had no value inputted for search, no title to search for. And that is basically it's that. All right. All right. Otherwise, as it says, and you can see in here, this did the contains. So just like we talked about yesterday, this will allow us to do a search that is a it's a case insensitive search. All right. Now we did something. Now notice this. This is what I tried to do yesterday. Okay. If there were none, we wanted to do a show message and just return. That's what I wanted to do yesterday, but I didn't get it to work. Let's see if we can put that into the program we did yesterday in just a moment. All right, there's the artist search and there's the genre search, our show message. Okay, and some of these programs are getting pretty big. I sure as heck would not deny that. All right, now what did I do yesterday? Let's see. So let's see if we can find it this way. Well, I was looking for the song one that was, and I moved my stuff around this morning because I was getting really busy here. So let's see. Nope, that's the one we just looked at. Might be this one. Just trying to bring up the one I did yesterday, just for completeness sake. Employee manager song. I don't know if this is the right one or not. Let's quickly look. Nope, that ain't it. It's too bad. I wanted to be able to show you this. So this is all old. I don't know where I put it. It's not it. This may be it, or maybe this may be the one we're looking at now. I don't know. Yeah, this is the one we're looking at now. What you was we could have done this. All right. So in other words, there's an any command, which means did you find anything? So what I'm going to do, what I'm doing here, what I'm going to do, sorry about this, is I'm going to grab that and I'm going to close this. And we're going to throw it right in here for now. All right, just so we've got it, so I can go back and take a look and maybe upgrade the program I did for you yesterday. All right, so that's those. Now, let's talk about this third program that's here. All right, and I'm going to get you started. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to get you started. So what I'm going to do, if you look at this, this is the one that you're assigned. All right. I'm going to set it up, and all I'm going to put in here is going to be a list box. I guess I could have used a list view as well, but I put a list box in there. And what it's going to show, I just made a file with 10 students, and I sent you the file this morning. It's got 10 names, 10 lab grades, and 10 test grades. All right. So let me build this. It will not look identical. In fact, it won't look anything like this. But I want to do it anyway so you can see some of the stuff that I did yesterday. All right. Now, just so you know, one of the things I sent you today was this file called students. And there it is. This is the file I used as input. I'm just telling you, this is the file I used as input. All right. If I did this correctly, all right, well, just to show you this, all right, I'm not going to save this anyway. I guess it won't let me do much with it, but let me grab these and let me come in here and bring this in. All right, so these are the 10 records we have. Now, you were told that the first thing that's in there was a lab grade, and the second thing was a test grade. And when you figured out the supposed to be the lab grade, so like 77.8 times 40% or 0.4, and we were supposed to add to that. So that was the lab grade plus the test grade, which was 93.2 times 0.6. Why am I going to the trouble of showing you that? Because that's something you have to calculate. I wanted to show you how to calculate it. So if I come in here and go to calculator, let's try this and see what we get. All right, so 77.8 times 0.4 equals, so that's 3112. That's 31.12. And we want to add to that this, the 93.2 times 6. So let's do that. Let's clear 93.2 times 0.6. And that is 55.92. If I add those, so 55.92 plus 31.12, I should get that their collective grade should have been an 87.04. And I could do these for all 10, but I just wanted you to get the idea of what I was doing. So what we want to do is we want to read in this file, and I put this into a class, and I was very simple. I had three properties: a name property that was type string. I didn't even bust up the name into first name and last name. I just had a name property that was a string. I had a lab score property, which was a decimal, and a test score property, which was a decimal. That was the whole class. Then I did a NOR constructor in it. All right. And then I basically threw it into a list box. So if you say, I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about, well, let's go and look at, let's see, yesterday we worked on the employee one. Again, I'm going to have to find that one. I don't know where I put it. Let me just create a new folder up here. All right. And I'm going to call it link text file 1, text file 01, because we're going to be using a text file in here. All right. Now, if you want to run yours and be able to run it the way that I ran mine, you don't have to do it that way. But on my C drive, literally on my C drive, so under C:\\, I've got a folder named C#, and I've got a folder in there named files. And I've got a folder, or not a folder, but a file in there that's called students.txt. Look familiar? There it is. In fact, it's not letting me open it, so let's see. Oh, I do have it open here. I don't know why I've been writing in it, but I have been. All right. But that's the file. Okay. All right. So let me get rid of this stuff because it's sure not going to work with all that stuff in it. Put that into another file. All right. So this is that. Where is it? This is the file on my C drive. Let me just save that. Okay. So this is the file I want to use. All right. So let's do this. So in this, I'm going to start up a new project. Get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. But I'm going to start up a new project. All right. And new project. It's going to be a Windows Forms app. And this one was supposed to be called, remember, mine won't look the way yours is supposed to, but it was supposed to be LB03 student grades. So I'm going to call this JPS LB03 student. And this will be the project. And I'll put it into a solution with the same name, except instead of project on the end, it'll have solution. And I'm going to place the whole thing into a folder called link text file 01. Okay, so there that is. All right, and create. Okay, now I did save something because I made it a certain size because I wanted you to be able to see everything that I was doing. So if I look here, I made the, let me grab these. This was the form. So this is the size I want the form to be. So you can see it's pretty wide. Okay. And inside of here, I put in just a regular list box. We've used these before. So let me put in a list box as soon as I can find it. There it is. All right, I'm going to drag it and it's going to take up most of the screen. And the size of that is going to be 1295 by 424. So there's that. As always, I'm going to change the color, my background color, and I'll change that. Let's make it that orangish color. Okay, so we've got all that done. And the only other thing I want to do in here is I want to grab this. I want to grab that. I don't know why, oh, that's fine. I want to grab this and I want to change the font size. And I made this 26. I dinked around with it a little bit and Arial bold. Okay, and lock. Now, the nice thing is, this is really easy to set up my stuff. There's no accept button. There's no cancel button because I don't have any buttons. All right, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay. All right. My start position, sure, I can set that to center screen. Okay. This is going to be read only. This is going to be read only. All right. All I'm going to do is read this stuff so you can, again, this is a list box. I don't even know if there is a read only property on there. There isn't. So it's fine. It'll be fine the way it is. All right. I don't want to do anything with this, so I don't have to even worry about a tab order. All right. But I will change the name of my form. So let's call this FRM text file or list. Kind of a dumb name, but it'll work. Yeah, I want to change it. Okay, now it doesn't like something. I'm getting this goofy error every once in a while, and I think it's from the naming that I'm using. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to come back to here, and usually when I go back and just change this, back to form 1, well, when I did it before, yeah, the error goes away, but I lose everything. Don't know why this is. Now, if I go back and rename it again, I'm just going to call this FRM file input. Okay. Yes, I want to change it. And it did it again. I don't know why. I'm getting this catastrophic error, and I don't know why I'm getting that. If any of you have ever got it or know what it is, please let me know. All right, so let me rename it again back to form 1.cs. All right, I'm not going to worry about the name. That's fine. Let's change the color again. See if I can change the name here. I don't want to jack with that. You should always change it up here. So, all right, let's go back and do what we were going to do, though. Let's try a different color. So we'll make it that purple. All right, so that size right now is 1390 by 535. I think that's what I wanted. 1390 by 535, and then I want a list box that's this size. So I want a list box. This explanation is taking longer than it's going to take to actually do the program probably. And the size of this is 1295 or 24. There we go. All right, let's lock that into place. Okay. And we'll set this up for center screen. Like I told you before, we're not worrying about the rest of it. All right. So I've got this. I'm not going to worry about changing the name of my form. I don't want to go through that garbage again. I can put some text on the form. All right. This program will use a text file to populate a C# list, and took that with no problem. Also, let me just come in here and reset the size again to 26, bold, and Arial. All right, that's it. So now let's come in here and do our thing. And what I mean is I'm going to start by creating a class library. All right, so I'm going to add a new project. It will be a class library. All right, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, let's just call it link library. All right, and next, make sure that your this is set to .NET Standard 2.0. Click Create. There it is. We don't need the class called Class 1. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to create my own class right now. And that class is going to be called Student because we're going to be reading in students. I really should have probably called that Student Library. I think I can rename it. Let's rename it Student Library. All right. I don't think there's going to be any problem doing that. We'll see. So I'm going to come in here now and I'm going to add a class. All right. And I'm going to call the class student.cs. All right. It's in Student Library, so it did change the name there. I want to make this public. All right. I'm going to have my three properties. So I'm going to have a public string name with a get set, a public string lab score with a get set, and a public string. In fact, these aren't strings. I'm sorry. They're scores. So this is a decimal. And so will this be. And this is test score with, again, my get set. All right. And I'm going to have a no-arg constructor in here. Okay. So public student, paren, curly, curly. That's it. That's my whole class. Whopping 16 lines. Make that a whopping, well, I guess still 16 lines. All right. Not a whole heck of a lot in there, as you can see. That's everything. All right. So let's go in and create our form. This stuff to display. Okay. So file, save all. I am going to close this and I'm going to go back to here. Okay. All right. I want, when the form loads, I want the 10 names to appear, followed, name and then the student name, lab score, then their lab score, test score, then their test score, and their overall grade using the formula I showed you. That's what I want to have print on here. So you can use this as a start if you want to. All right, if you don't. I don't care. But if you want to, you can. All right. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to come in and go into my code window. All right. Again, I won't need any of these. At least I don't think I needed any of those. We'll see if I do. Probably I need systems. Well, I know I'm going to need system IO. Okay. So I will need to using system.io because we're going to be doing file stuff. But we'll see if I need the collections generic or anything else. All right. So we're up here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my global list variable. All right, so I'm going to say here, I'm going to make this private list of students that's called student. And as always, you can see I'm running into problems. It doesn't know what I'm trying to do here. I want list, and I want that to say student. But you can see I'm getting errors, and you should by now know why I'm getting some of those errors. Where for the list, I think I do need the using system dot collection generic. So using system dot collections dot generic. All right, that got rid of this, but I still have an error here. You should know this by now. Notice what it says. The type or namespace named student could not be found. Are you missing a directive or assembly reference? And if I click here, I want to grab the last one. I want to add my reference to the student library. It added this line to it. And now I have no errors. Now I could even run the program right now. Not a flipping thing is going to happen, but I could run it right now if I really wanted to. All right. Okay, so we've got that. All right. I'm going to basically call everything. I want this to come up when the form loads. So I'm going to click on here, and in my form load event, I'm going to set up everything. So I'm going to set up the file path and file name. I went back and redid this because I wanted to do it the way they did it in the book. All right, so this is how it's explained in chapter 17 of Muroc. So string dir equal @ double quote C colon backslash C sharp backslash files backslash. That's the path. This path right there, this path is the same one that I showed you, not there, but when I said C colon backslash C sharp backslash files backslash. All right, that's where this student.txt file lives. All right, so that's setting up the directory. Dir is just a name they used in the book, so I used it. So string path, this is going to be the path to that. And that is equal to dir, that directory, plus students.txt. All right, you'll notice there's no errors. Okay. So everything so far, so good. Now, if I run the program, not a flipping thing will happen. There it is. All right, but nothing will happen because I haven't told anything to happen yet. All right, so let's put some comments in here. So read the students.txt file into a list of student objects. All right, into my list. So students equal, I just called it read student file. And I want to pass it that path so it knows where to get it from. Now I'm getting an error. I'm getting an error because that file that doesn't exist yet. All right. And that's okay. All right. And then after I do that, the only thing that's left to do then is to display the list contents. And then we'll call display students. And I'm getting another error because, again, that hasn't been written. So we have to write these two things. We have to write read student file, and we have to write display students. All right, neither one of them is super long. All right, the first one is longer. Okay, so let's do this one right now. So this is read student file, and this path really is the file name. All right, because it's this plus. So I'm going to write that first. It'll be private. and it's actually going to return a list of students. Okay, and I'm going to call it read student file and a string with the file name. All right, let me move this over. There we go. Now I'm getting errors. Read student file, read student file. And it says, hey, I'm not returning anything right now. So this one, I'm getting the error just because that hasn't been created yet. So we'll undo that one for a second. All right, so let's make our list of students. So list student, and notice it's now grabbing everything. Okay, and we'll use the old-fashioned way of initializing it like this. Now, I'm going to put everything inside of a try-catch block. And the reason that I'm doing it like this is when you work with files, things can happen. You can give wrong names. You can not have permissions to use a file or whatever. So I put this whole thing inside of, as I mentioned, a try-catch block. So we're going to have a try. All right. And then after that, we're going to have a catch. And I just kept it real simple. I just said catch any exception, which I called EX. All right. Now, don't worry, we're going to fill all these in right now, but we're still not returning anything. All right. We're eventually going to want to return this. So after we do our try catch, let's say return students. And now that error is gone. All right. Now it's not doing much of anything yet because we haven't told it to. All right. So let's start by coming in here and read the lines from the file. All right. In fact, lines, maybe it would have been better to say records, whatever you think. Each line is a record. So string, bracket, lines, we could call it records. It doesn't matter, but lines equal file dot read all lines, and the IntelliSense picked up everything for me. That should read each record into something that's called lines. All right. So again, looking at what we had in here, that's going to read all this stuff in there. In fact, I still have that open, so let me close that. So it'll read this. Now, when it reads that, we've got to split this up from one field that has 2 commas in it to 3 fields, and each field is delineated with a comma. So this will be the first student's for name, the first student's lab score, the first student's test score. And then we'll want to run this calculation on it and hopefully get that. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to use a for each loop in here. So notice it's already building it for me. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to come in here. I think I am going to save this out there for you, so at least you'll have a start on this third one. And I'm going to say split the line by commas, because that's what we had in there, to get the student class properties. All right, so string, bracket, bracket. Again, we can call this whatever we want. I called it parts because there's 3 parts in this. So parts equal line dot split, and we want to split it on a comma like that. Now you have to start being able to understand this. What this is saying is I want to read this in a line at a time. All right, I'm going to read in every line, but a line at a time. Then go through each line that's in there and each line split it up. So parts 0 is going to be equal parts 0 is going to be equal to the name. Parts 1 is going to be equal to the lab score, and parts 2 is going to be equal to the test score. All right. Now I'm going to say greater than or equal to 3. It's 3 every time, but I just put that in there. And I'm going to come in here now and say, create a new student object and assign its properties. All right, very similar to what I just told you, and that is student equal new student. All right, but I'm not going to do it like this. I could, but I'm going to break it up and do it more for lack of better words, kind of the newfangled way of doing this. So I'm going to say here, new student, and I'm going to put on a new line in curly braces. I'm going to say name equal parts 0, and then lab score equal parts 1, and finally test score equal parts 2. Now it's giving me errors. We're going to fix it in just a second. All right, but I'm hoping you can figure out why we're getting these errors. This is a string, that's a decimal. This is a string, that's a decimal. All right, I'm just going to immediately do a parse, not a try parse, but I'm going to say decimal dot parse, and I want to parse this. All right, and then I want to do the same thing here. Just like that, and boom, my errors are gone. All right, so all that stuff has now been done. I'm still in here. So I'm doing this for each student. Now I can add the student to the list of students. So that's students dot add student, just like that. All right. Now, if something went wrong, all right, that should be student with a little s. I'm sorry. Try that again. Come on. There we go. Is it giving me an error? Students dot add student. The name student does not exist. Student, it's right there. Oh, that's got to be inside of this curly. I'm sorry. It's only known because we set it up in here. So this has got to be moved up like that. And notice that the error goes away. There we go. All right. Now, if we catch an exception, we'll just bring up a message box. All right. So I'm not writing a special show message. I'm just going to have a message box dot show error reading file. All right. Plus, if there is an error, I'll do plus ex dot message. All right. I'll actually print out what the error is. Okay. And then I'm just going to say here like error, something like that. And we'll have our message box buttons, okay, and error. Just like that. All right. And then we will return students. So far as I can tell, no errors there. So that's good. Now, again, I can save this and I can run this, but nothing is still going to happen. All right. And that's because I have not yet put in my display students. Now it's nice because this is only about 7 or 8 lines long, something like that. So let's grab this display students and we'll put it right below our read student file. Okay. Now, before we display it, remember we have to figure out that overall grade. So I made a new variable right here. This is not fields that you calculate like this are typically not class properties. All right, because they're changing all the time. All right, so this is a local variable, and I called it what it was, overall grade, and I set it equal to 0M. All right, then we wanted to loop through the student list, and for each student, print out the student name, the student lab score, the student test score, and the calculated overall grade. Okay, that's what we want to do. All right, so let's do this using a for each loop. So for each student in students, so for each student, first thing we want to do is figure out the overall grade. So calculate the overall grade by the formula overall over overall grade equal lab score times 40% plus test score times 60%. That was from the requirements. I didn't make that up. All right. So put that in. So that'll be overall grade equal student dot lab score times 0.4 plus, I'm going to put it on 2 lines. Don't worry, well, these errors are going to go away momentarily. Plus, and that's got to have an M on the end, remember, because it's a decimal. There we go. Plus student dot test score, and that's times 60%. All right, so now we have everything. We already had the student name. We already had the student lab score. We already had the student test score. This is going to figure out the overall grade using that formula for student. So now we can put it into our list box. So did I give that list box a name? It's called list box 1, which is a really crummy name. Let's call it LST student contents. Not a great name, but it'll work. All right, you can see it changes there too. And let's put that code in. All right, so LST student contents dot items dot add, and I'm going to put this on a new line. All right, so I know I don't want the word student in there. Okay, let me move all this way over. So this is going to be, we'll use interpolation here. Name, followed by a space, and then student dot name. All right. And I think when we use interpolation like this, I think we can put a \T in there for a tab. We'll see if it works or not. And then we're going to have, this is going to be long, just so you know. Right? See if I could do this better. Probably could have created like an output string, but I'm going to leave it the way it is. So I've got the student name. Then next, I want the lab score. All right. And then another tab. Like I said, this is a little long. Then I want the test score. All right. And finally, we want the overall grade. And that overall grade, we will do in here a dot to string, and we will put it to N2 for 2 decimal places. And after we get done with that, we'll do a \R\N to try to put this on a new line. Now it's giving me an error, and let's see if we can figure out what the error is. All right, did I not call it overall grade? Thought I did. Overall, oh, I think that I didn't use a capital G there. No, I did. So let's see. Well, I've got here decimal overall grade. Overall grade. What doesn't it like? Did I do it like that? Nope. I don't know what the problem is in here, so let's see. Really, overall should be one word, so overall grade, which should make that there. But that still isn't working. And it's coming in and it's saying unexpected token. I want to grab these errors. All right. Well, one thing is this has got to be put in double quotes. That got rid of many of the errors, but it still doesn't like this overall grade. To string N2. Well, I need this, and that \R\N shouldn't be in there. All right. So what doesn't it like now? /N. There we go. All right. Well, now we're going to see if it works. Let's just run quickly through the program. All right. From the get-go, there are no errors anymore. All right. Is it going to work? Well, I tried it before and I did a similar thing. I made a couple changes, but I think it'll work. All right. We brought in our student library. We needed our collections generic for the list. We needed our IO because we're working with files where it is a form file. All right. Again, we brought in our, right? We've got one global variable. This is our list of students called students. We set up the directory of where our file exists. We added to that the file name. We read the file into the list of student objects, and that was this here. So it said, read it a line at a time, split it up by, first field split on the comma, second field split on the comma, third field. Then we created the new student object. And again, these names, as I mentioned, lines and parts, they're just arbitrary. You can call them whatever you want. Then we created a new student object based off the three parts. We had to put this, since it was going into a decimal, and this, since it was going into a decimal, we had to parse both those. Then we added this to our list, so that added it to the student list. If we had any problems, so if we gave it a wrong name, okay, for instance, in fact, let's do that on purpose. Let's go back here. I'm going to make this student.txt, and I'm going to run the program. And you'll notice we get error reading file, could not find file student.txt. Okay, and we get no output. All right, because it is students. All right. And after we go and basically read the text file into our list, we display the list contents that was in here. So as it says here in the comments, we've got to loop through or iterate through the student list. For each student, print out their name, their lab score, their test score, and their overall grade, which is calculated. And we calculate the overall grade for each individual student by this formula. So we do the formula, then we print everything out. Since I used interpolation here, this line got real long. Sorry about that. Let's see what it looks like. Bingo. All right. Remember, we said when we did our first student, I only did one of them, and that was this. It should be 87.04. So John Doe should be 87.04. And was John Doe 87.04? And you can see, yes, he is. Then we've got Jane Doe, Mark Green, etc. It's a little bit of a contrived program. All right, but I wanted to be able to show you a way of going in and reading a text file into a C# list. All right, so I am going to save this one. So file save all here. And I call this so I might get bash, do everything here, get inits, git add dots, git commits -m, example of populating a C# list using a text file. And we'll put in here the date as well. So Wednesday, 7/19/2023. All right, so all that looks like it worked. We want to call it this, which is really ugly. So I'm going to copy that, go out to GitHub, create a new repo. I've got to clean these up because I've got now probably over 100 repos and a lot of them are just garbage. So that's in there and it worked. Create it. Let's grab our remote line here, copy, oops, try that again. Grab that line, copy that to the clipboard. Put that in here. So we'll paste. Let's double check with a git remote -v. That looks like it's set up correctly. So git push -u origin master. It's going to spin and think about it. Looks like it worked. Let's refresh here. There it is. And that's the other repo. So there's the other one. Smaller. So there's the two GitHub repos. And I'll make sure I send both of those in the mail with, today. All right, so far, and we talked about this the other day, and we said, what's due Wednesday is going to be this. I've already done this one, and I did it as a console app and showed it to you as well as a GUI app. You can do either one. I did this one for you as a console app. If you want to try doing that one as a GUI app, feel free. And I just gave you a start to this one. All right. This is not this. The one I just did is not this file, but it did show you, all right, how you can go and read stuff in. So it got you started. You're going to have to make changes, of course. All right. Make a lot of changes, to be honest with you. You don't need to have a list box. You just would need to set up the GUI as shown. So you've got that. So in other words, with what you know already, that so for your homework, we've got what? Homework, we've got labs, we've got written test, and we've got this worksheet. And this worksheet is 100 points, 3 problems, and those are the song list, the employee search, and this student grades. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to show you everything that is going to be due. All right. So this is, whoops, try that again. This is all the stuff that'll be due Wednesday. (7/26/23). All right. So we've already done these. These you already know you have to do on your own. All right. So this will be for chapter 17 and for chapter 18. You know that you do those on your own. You've been doing them on your own all semester. Now for the homework, it's going to be problems, the extra exercises, we'll call it EE for extra exercises, 17-1 and extra exercise 18-1. We're going to do those next. All right. Like I said, this is what we're going to do in just a moment. All right. So we have now gone through and done versions, at least, of all 3 of these. All right. So what I'm going to do here, and I'm not going to save this. The only thing I have I'm saving out there for you to look at are that modified link demo that I showed you at the beginning of class and the starter, so to speak, for the third problem, the student grades. All right. Okay. So let's look at extra exercises 17-1 and 18-1. So I'm going to close this for now. All right, I can close this for now. And I can even close these for now. I have to, I'll open them back up again. All right. So now let's take a look at the extra exercises. And we're concerned with 18.1 and with 17.1. I think 17.2 is the same as 17.1, except they use a binary file instead of a text file. So instead of, using a stream reader, you're going to be using a binary reader and a stream writer, a binary writer. I don't think we really need to, go through that. So let's see. That is everything. So I'm going to grab this, copy it to the clipboard. So what does it say? Open the project in the extra starts for chapter 17. Well, I did actually make a thing called Muroc 1718. And I have these starts and I have these solutions. I did my own. All right. But let's just not even use those. We'll come in here. Let's make our own. All right. So we've got this end one in here. And I thought I had already started on this, but maybe I didn't. All right. So let's do this. Let's make a folder. I'm going to call it Muroc 17-1 and 18-1. Call it what it is. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drag into this folder the starts for 17 and for 18. So here's the start for 17, and I want the inventory maintenance text. So I'm going to copy that in. And then for 18, I want the inventory maintenance. So I'm going to copy that in. Okay. All right. So the one we want to work with first is this inventory maintenance text. All right. So that's in there. It's already got a start and a solution and everything. So I'm not going to create any of that stuff. Let's just open it up. All right. So let's take a look in the book here. Open the file and display the code for the INV item DB class. There is no INV item DB class, but there is an inventory DB class. I think that's the one they mean. So there it is. This is assuming that this file exists in the same folder that we're in. So notice how they set the path. We could have done it the same way that it was done earlier. We could have done that. All right. We didn't, but we could have. All right. So let's see, what else do we have here? So we opened it. Now we're up to step 2 of 6. We want to add code to the get items method that creates a stream reader object with a file stream object for the inventory items.txt file that's included in the project. The path constant contains the path to the it should be open for read only. All right, so let's do that first. So we want to open this. We want to find the get items. In fact, I started to do this before, but I don't think I copied it in. So let me copy that and let's put it into the program here. All right. I'll worry about printing that up later. Okay. Not right now. but I do want to be able to take a look at everything that's in here. So I am going to separate these, I guess. So we did step 1 of 6. In step 2, all right, so we opened it in our extra starts folder with that name, etc. directory, and we displayed the code. Ours is actually, it's called inventory DB, not INV item. So it's for the inventory DB class. I think I'm doing the right one. Inventory DB class. Now we're up to step 2. We want to add code to the get items that creates a stream reader object or the file that's included in the project. Path constant contains the path to this file. The file should be open if it exists or created if it doesn't exist. And it should be open for reading only. Okay, so we're up to step 2. Okay, so we've got our list, create the list. We want to add the code here to read the text file into the list inventory item thing here. All right, so this is in, I think this is what I want to do is right here. All right. So let's try stream reader. And this is going to be our input text. So we'll call it text in equals new stream reader. And inside of that, no, we don't want the word path. But inside of that, all right, we want a new file stream that has the path that we had up above. The file mode will be open or create, because that's what we were told to do. And the file access will be read. Okay, and I lost that. All right. So all I'm doing here is following their instructions. Okay. So we are creating a new stream reader object that's called text in. Remember that the stream reader basically is going to require us to wrap inside of it a file stream. And we have to pass the path, which we set up here. The mode, which was open or create, which means open it if it exists, create it if it doesn't. All right. And we're opening it up for read access only. I think that was all of step 2. All right, step 3. Add code that reads each record of the text file, stores the fields. Those fields are separated, as it says there. Those fields are separated by a pipe character. All right. In an INV item object. All right. And the object to the list object. Finally, then we want to close the stream reader object. Okay. So right below this then, put in some comments here. Read the file data and then store it in the list. Okay, so before we return here, these items, a few things, whoops, and then store it in the list. All right, so we want to do that right here. So we want to keep going as long as there's more stuff for us to do. So while text in dot peak is not equal to -1. Remember, that's our look ahead. So as long as there's something for us to read, we want to read it. All right. So we're going to say inventory item and call it whatever we want. Let's just call it item equals new. And again, we're going to use the newer syntax like this, like we did. That's why I showed it to you in the example I did before. So the item number, and that's equal to, it's an int. So convert dot to int 32 columns. Oh, we skipped something here. Okay, we've got this. That's all going to be correct, but just give me a second here. We gotta add our variables. So string equals text in dot read line. All right. And just in case it'd be empty, we'll account for that also. And we'll have a string array that we'll call columns. All right. And that'll be equal row dot split like we did before. And I think the delimiter we said was a pipe sign. So split like that with a pipe sign. All right, let's take a quick look. I'm going to fix this in a minute, but let's take a quick look at this file. Make sure that that's correct. So this is the file inventory items.txt. So it is a pipe sign. There's 3 fields. All right. There is an item number. There is a description. And there is a price. All right. So that looks like it's good as far as I can tell. All right. So we said with this look ahead here, while there's something to read, all right, we're going to come in here and there's our item number. Now we can do that and we can tell it that's columns 0. That's just a string. Sorry, my internet's gone down a couple times already. All right, so I don't have to do any conversion on that. And then we've got the price. And that's convert not to int 32. No, that'll be to decimal because that's the way that was set up. Which you should spell correctly. All right. Convert to decimal, not decimal. There we go. All right, so we've got all that. And then remember, store it in the list, or how about add it to the list? Okay, so we didn't do that yet, but let's do that right now. Items.add item. All right. Now we're also told that we should close the input stream when we're done. So before we return this, we want to close the input stream. So that'll be text in dot close. Okay. All right, what else is left here? All right, we're up to step 4. So add code to the save items method that creates a stream writer object with a file stream object for the inventory items.txt file. The file should be created if it does not exist, or so we want to go in, and I think we're going to have to take this text_in.close. We may have to comment that out. I don't know, but I want to come in here now, add the code, just like they're saying, the stuff right here. So not a lot, but a little bit of code. So this will be the create the output stream. So stream writer, since we call the other one text in, let's call this text out, and that'll be equal to a new stream writer. And again, we have to come in here and wrap inside of there a new file stream, and that'll be the path, file mode create, and access write. Like that. Okay, so that'll add the code. That'll actually add the code that'll create that. All right, so I think we're done with step 4. Now add code that writes each item here to the text file and separates the fields with pipe characters. Then close the StreamWriter object and finally test it. Okay, so let's grab this up. I'm going to grab that comment and actually put it in here. Which means that I should comment. There. All right. So for each, let me move this up a little bit. Inventory item and items, just like we did before. But now it's not going to be a write. It's going to be writing it, because a write would just write it to the screen. We want to say text out dot write item dot item number plus. Now we can keep doing this. We can come in here and just say add this, and that it'll work. But with the other, whoops, like that, we can do that every time, or we can come in here and actually create a field for that. We can say char delimiter, it's a character delimiter, equal, we can, whoops, inside of single quotes, we can put the pipe sign in like that. That might be a little cleaner, at least look a little cleaner. All right, so plus delimiter. And when we look at what it looks like now, we looked at that before, so let's bring up the file again. All right, there's nothing special to it. In other words, it just looks like it. There's no currency formatting or anything in there. All right, so let's put that in. Exit this. Exit that. Okay. You don't need that anymore. Okay. So text out dot write item dot price. I don't know. We don't need a delimiter in there because it's the last thing. And then I think now we probably can close the output stream. And since this is text out dot close, this probably will work fine with text in dot close. All right. Well, let's see if it works. Okay, there's our three things. Let's see if we can add an item. All right, so this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Jeff's new item. It'll be $45.67. We'll tell it to save. There it is. All right, I'm going to exit. I'm going to totally exit the program. All right. I'm going to up again. All right. I'm going to run the program. Oh, doesn't like something. This is, well, something was not in the correct format. Hmm. Oh, all right. It doesn't like something. So let's see if we can figure out what it is. And it was a thing like with, all right, if we look in here, oh, it's pushed these together. There's no pipe after our ID. Well, something is screwed up here. Try this again. Okay. There's that, there's that, there's that, 795. And this is the next one. There is no pipe sign there. I don't know how there wasn't, but there wasn't one there. There's not one here either. You'll notice if we take a look on here, it does have my item, but it didn't write that one back correctly either. Something in my delimiter that it doesn't like here. Let's see if we can figure out what that is. All right. Let's check. So I'm going to come back to the program, and where I made that delimiter here, wherever I made that delimiter. We're going to make this a string. I don't think that's going to cause any errors anyplace, but let's run the program now. All right, we've got everything. There's the Jeff's new. All right, I'm going to come in and I'm going to delete that. Yes, I want to delete it. That worked. Add a new item. 444444. New item. $55.55. That was in there. Let's exit. Let's run the program again. Now that's in there. And that's all that's in there? It's just like that's the first record. That is weird. Let's go back and I want to, all the code is in here, but I want to go back and make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. All right. So take a couple minutes and we're going to go through this. As it says, we added the code to the inventory maintenance application that reads the data and writes data to a text file. Number one, open the project and display the code. Number two, change this. All right. Add the code to the get items method that creates a stream reader object. For the inventory items. So that should be this. Stream reader, we called it text in, equals a new stream reader. And we wrap into that a new file stream with our path, our file mode, which is open or create, and our access, which is read. All right. I think that's correct. So the path, as it says here, sorry, I'm a little squirrely about this. You know that. Okay, so we've done all that. All right. So that was step two. Step three, add code that reads each record of the text file, stores the fields, which are separated by pipe characters, in an INV item object, adds the object to the list. Okay. So that'll be here. Right. So add the code that reads each record. Okay. So we've got our text in dot peak while it's not equal to -1. All right, we made this thing called row. We set it equal to read line and we accounted for nulls. We want to do a split here. And maybe, I don't know if that's what's doing it, but I'm going to move this thing up. This delimiter, I'm going to make it global. Don't know if that'll matter or not. Right there. Okay, now it says string delimiter, make field read only. Know why we would have to do that. All right, we'll do this. Private, make it a constant. Const string delimiter equals that. Okay. Well, and since these are constants, they should have probably been capitalized, and at least that should be capitalized. So it says delimiter. All right. So we're down to here. And now we can split it based on our delimiter. Okay. If the column length, whoa, I'm just doing this. I didn't make any checks here. I'm missing a line of code. I'm sorry. If columns dot length equal 3. Now we did greater than or equal to 3 before, but why don't we just put the number we should have in there? Then we want to do all this. That. It's over here. Need to be getting curly here. All right. If our columns is equal to 3, okay, so as we're reading it, if there's 3 columns, then we want to write them back out. So in other words, or read them, item number is the first column, description is the second column, and price is the third column. That's all correct. All right. And remember, I tried doing this before and somehow I moved it. But this, get rid of this. That should be there. All right. So we add the item. All right. So that was this one. Then close and test it. Well, let's try it again. So file, save all. Let's run this. And we get errors. Oh, I know what it is. Delimiter, I didn't make it a capital D. So that is lines 115 and 116. That should be a capital D. Sorry. Let's be the way it, because I throw stuff at you all the time. So where it's got path here, this should be path. And we'll make this delimiter. Why we have to know, but since it's a constant, we should do it that way. So where we're using path here, it'll now look like that. And this will now be delimiter. That'll fix that. And then we'll have to do the same thing here. And down here with the delimiter. All right. And now all my errors are gone. So file, save all. Okay. And also let's do this. I save just in case I screwed up. Let's grab this inventory items text file. I'm going to grab it from. So I'm starting with the correct file is what I'm saying. So let's grab all that, copy it to the clipboard, just so I'm sure I'm starting with the right file. That's all. Oops, there. All right. All right, so that's what we want. So file, save all. Let's run the program. We get our 4 things. That looks good. Let's add an item. So 567890. Description will be garden hose. And it's on sale for $33.99. Save. There it is. All right. If we exit, that should have now been written out here. There it is, garden hose $33.99. All right. So let's come in here and read this again. And this is why it's screwing up, because for whatever reason in here, when I'm adding it, it's not putting it into a new line. I don't know why. Program is correct, and I can come in here and add things. 1111111. New thing. 3322. Save. And you'll notice that now there it is there. And it's also been added. Well, it hasn't been added here. We'd have to refresh this. There it is. New thing. And that was actually added correctly. All right. And let's close this. Wonder if they still have what I had in the. Good. All right. That's the way that it should look. And it does look correct at the start. All right. But there's something in here that I'm missing, because what you'll see matters or not. Okay. So let me close this. You shouldn't have it open and be operating on with a program at the same time. That's just a foolish idea. So there it is. Let's add our own new item. New item. Oops, got to give it a number. It's adding it correctly. It's deleting it correctly. That's all good. But when I come and run the program again, this is now empty. And there is something that's wrong in my code. So I'm going to go through it now and see if I can figure out what the problem is. All right. So taking it from the top, we are in our inventory DB, private const string path. That should still be okay. Inventory items.text. And I believe that's what it was called. Must be, or it wouldn't be referencing it otherwise. Okay. We've got our delimiter that we set up as being a pipe sign. Fine. All right. In our list in here, we want to create the list. That's fine. Then we start to do our stuff. So we create a stream reader object. With the path, the file mode is open or create, and the access as read. All right, that all looks good. Then we work our way through the file. We tell it whenever we reach 3, we've got a new row. That should be correct. If columns are equal to 3, we want to create a new inventory item. The item number is going to be column 0. The description will be column 1. Price will be column 2. That's correct. Then we add the item to our items list. That should all be correct. I wonder if this is what's screwing it up. I'm just going to comment that out, and I'm going to comment this out. All right, I'm wondering if that's what's screwing things up, but we'll see in a minute. All right, then in our save items, we're now creating a text out, which is another stream writer, which has wrapped inside of it a file stream. All right. Path, file mode.create, file access.write. That looks correct. Then we want to add our code. So we want to loop through here. Right. All right. As far as I can tell, all the code that's in here is correct. So file, save all. Okay, this is currently empty, so I'll have to bring that information back into it again. So let me exit. Right. Close that. Run the program. There's our 4 things. Add a new item. I am getting an IO exception. Cannot access the file because it is being used by another process. All right, so that's saying that it's already open. That's okay, so let's do this. We're going to do a file, save all. I am going to close this and open it up again. And it might be that it was open here. That might be what the problem was. So let's see. All right, so let's run this. There's our stuff. Add item. And it's still giving us that. So it says it's being used by another process. So do I have it open still? I don't think so. No, I do not. I am going to try this one more time. Totally exiting. Now, how could that be being used? That's my question here. Okay, I'm going to try this then. I'm going to grab this file. This is our inventory items.txt. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. I'm going to go over to the C drive, just like we did before with the other example. All right, I'm going to try to drop that in here. So there's inventory items.txt, and it's got everything in there. All right. So let's change the path. And we won't worry about using the one that's here. I have no idea why I'm getting the error I'm getting. None whatsoever. So we shouldn't need that. I'm going to keep it, but I'm not, let's see. All right, we're going to have to change this. Where are we? All right. So we're going to change this. We're going to change the path, etc. So we're going to have first, whoops, private const string dir equals. I think we had to see before an at sign, C:\\\, C# files \, right? And then our path is going to be equal to our dir plus our inventory items.txt. All right, so I'm trying to read this now off of the C drive. Okay, so file, save all, run it. Shows everything as being in there. Let's add an item. 567890. Garden hose. 1999. Add it. We're still getting that. Saying it's being used by another process. It says I've got something else open that's using this. So let's take a look at everything that's in there. Let's close this. Close this. Of course, I need that. It's not even that that's not open. But it's saying it's being used by another process. Trying to see anything in here that's open that could be causing this thing in here to fail. There's hardly anything open in here. Save all. Let's try to rebuild this. So build, rebuild solution. And let's try to run it again. See if I get the same error. Oh. And I'm wondering, maybe this does have to be closed or be left open rather. But I thought when I left it open, I got a different error. Let's try to close this one and let's try to leave them both open and see what happens. There they are. It says it's being used by another process. I may not give me an answer to this here. I don't know if it will or not. You have to close the file after editing it. After closing it, you can use it again for reading. Well, we want to go the opposite. We want to have it open for reading and then close it and open it for writing. All right, so maybe we do have to come in here and take the one that where we're opening it. We did close it. And then open it again for writing. That might be the problem. It's already been opened by the program. Let's try that. So again, add new item. All right, it added it. That's good. Okay. See if we can add another one. All right, we can add additional items. We can delete items. Okay. And now let's exit. All right, let's run the program again. And now everything's gone. It's all doing this with the permissions. That's what's screwing all this up. I'll tell you that right now. I want you to try to see if you can figure it out, and I'll try to see if I can figure it out. Okay. I thought they both should have been closed, to be honest with you, when we're done. So maybe that's it. Maybe that should be closed when we finish. So we want to close, that's the closing the input. So we have to close that so we can reopen it as an output like that. I don't know if that'll work or not. So let me grab this, because now we probably our file on the C drive is empty. Okay. Close it. And run the program again. Now we did not close the output stream, so I want to see what's going to happen when we open it back up again. And it's empty. It has to do with these. So do the program, see if you can get a little further with it than I did. But I want to go over the steps one more time, and then we'll do the last one. All right, so for step one, add the code to get items that creates the stream reader. That'll be this. Now we're using the old fashioned because we're using 4.7.2, but that should work. Again, if you don't want to make your path uppercase and your dir and your delimiter, then don't do it. That's okay. All right. Then we want to add the code that reads each record of the text file, stores it, and make sure that there's a pipe sign between it. Okay. So this right here is doing the reading. All right. So that's doing the reading, and it looks correct as far as I can tell. And I think we'd have to close this. Maybe I'm wrong. but we're opening a file and we're doing double duty with it. So when we want to do this, I would think that this is correct now. You know what? This should be a right line. This shouldn't be a right. That might be what's really screwing it up here. So let's try that again, because I'm writing everything to the same line every time. That isn't good. Pardon me for not catching that earlier. All right. The file is empty. Go back and open it up again. And close it again. Save it and close it. All right, let's run the program again. Close this one. Add a new item. All right, that's in there. Let's add one more new item. Now look at that. So it's a pathing. It's a having the file open or not open thing. It's this. Since we closed it, we can't write to it anymore because it's still open here. Let's try to close it here. And every time I'm doing this, since I'm doing it with a file mode create, it's overwriting what was in there. This is a great lesson for all of us, including me. No, I think again, I might have removed everything that was in there. Whew. All right. Now I'm going to just try one thing, period. All right. And I'm going to close that. And I'm going to close this. Okay, I'm going to run this. It's all in there. I'm going to add one thing to it. And save. And now we're getting that it's being used by another process, and that's in the writer. So I'm not sure what the problem is. Give this one a try. Do the best you can with it. All right. I'm going to look at it. I promise you, I'll look at it this afternoon, see if I can figure out what the heck the problem is. But this is good. I honestly, you may not believe me, but I like it when stuff like this happens because that's the only way for me to learn. And that's the only way for you to learn. So let's look at 18.1. So I'm going to close this, open this, and go to inventory maintenance. That was the one for 18. Let's go down to the write-up for the one for 18. In this exercise, you'll use link to update the inventory maintenance application so it displays the inventory items in alphabetic order by description, excuse me, and so it can filter the inventory items by price. Okay. Let's see what else we have to do in here. A lot. All right, 15 things. I don't think I'm going to put in any more comments, at least right now. Okay. All right. Open the inventory project, display the code in the INV item list class. So let's find that. I'll tell you what we're going to do, just so you know. I'm not going to make this one do. We're going to go over this next week, project 4.3. So your homework is going to be EE 17.1, 72, 18.1, this, and we're just going to put nothing. And I'll send that out to you today too, so you know everything you're supposed to be doing. Okay, all right, let's jump back into this then. So open, display the code for the INV item list class. I wish they'd have put these into a class library, but they didn't. There's an inventory item, but there is no INV item list. Think they mean inventory item here. We're going to find out. All right. Note it already contains a read-only property named display text. Well, we've got get display text. We've got inventory DB. Same friggin' file as before. And I'll give you a hint. It sure looks like this is what they've got in here right now is pretty much everything we need for 17. I didn't use the using because we have been having problems with that, but all right, let's come in here and do this. Maintenance. Oh, the inventory maintenance form. All right. So FRM inventory mate. There we go. So we want to look at that code. There we are. Okay, that's where I started putting the comments in to begin with. Review the code that loads the item in the combo box and the code that executes when the selected item in the combo box is changed. Run the app and view the items in the combo box. Note that nothing happens when you change a selected item. Exit the application. So let's run it. There's our stuff. All right, right now, if we choose under $10, nothing happens. If we choose over, none of this is working. All right, can we add an item? Yes, we can. Okay. What happens if we exit the program and bring it up again? Our item is in there. So that's persevering. so to speak. And we can delete the item, run the program again, and the item's gone. Okay, so that part's all working. All right, because we're not junking or yicking around here with the file open and close like we were doing before. I still think that's what the problem was. Okay. So we've done steps 1 to 4. Step 5. Add code that sorts and filters the inventory items. Find so inside of here, in this FRM inventory maint, find the fill item list box. All right. It starts by storing the selected value of the combo box in a variable named filter and declaring a local collection of INV items named filtered items. All right. Note, the local collection is of type IEnumerable because the link stuff from chapter 18. Code an if-else statement that uses link to query the class level collection. All right. You can use method-based or query-based. We're going to do both. So I'm going to grab these comments that are here. Come back to here, find this fill list box thing. All right. And we're going to put in the next comment too, and then pretty it up a bit. All right, let's grab all this. All right. Okay, find the fill item list box in the inventory form. Starts by storing the selected value named filter and declaring a local collection of inventory item objects named filtered items. There's that, and there's the filtered items. Okay, good. I'm in the right place. I don't get rid of this note that's in here. Next, code an if-else statement that uses link to query the class level collection named INV based on the value of the filter variable. The link queries should also order the inventory items by description. Assign the result of each to the filtered items collection. Note, you can use method-based queries or query expressions here. All right. That's this 7 and 8. I'm going to move down. So that's all of this because I'm about to add this right here. So we're going to add some stuff here. All right. Then we're going to come in and we're going to put in, I think, steps 7 and 8 here. All right. So let's do this. Adding the items to the filter items collection based on the filter by value. Okay. Now we're going to do it both ways. All right. And I need to I'm not to be honest with you. I did look for a little help from the, I had it right, but I had to get a little help from the key. So if filter equal all, meaning in that drop down, we chose all. then filtered items equal, and I'm going to get rid of this, put this on a new line, from item in items, order by, item dot description, select item. Oops. Just like that. So that's if it equals all. Else, if filter equal under $10, it's going to be almost the same thing here. So I'm going to copy that in. Filtered items equals from, but we need a where in here. So that'll be where item dot price is less than 10. Okay, so that's that one. We'll go back and look at all these in a minute. Else, if filter equal $10 to $50. Again, we'll need another where in here. And this has to be in double quotes because it's a string. All right, so this will be where item dot price is greater than or equal to 10, and item, it should be item, not items, dot price is less than or equal to 50. Let me make that item, not items. There. So there's that one. Finally, we need the over 50. And this will be greater than 50. Like that. All right, that's all of it for this part. Now let's look at what we've done so far, okay? All right, taking it from the top. We're writing in here a method-based query like we did before. This is saying right in here, we're going to do different stuff based on which of these drop downs that we have. So when we run this, the drop downs say under 10, 10 to 50, over 50, and all. Right now, the all is the only one that's working. All right, so we want to be able to filter these out. We're not done yet. So it's pretty simple, really, when you look at it. If the filter equals all, we just want to select everything. And that's what this is doing. Right? We just want to select everything. And that's what this will be doing. All right. Otherwise, if it's under 10, all right, we still want to do their filtered items, the same stuff we did before, but now we need a where, and it's where item price is less than 10. Otherwise, if we choose the 10 to 50, it's where item dot price is greater than or equal to 10, and item price is less than or equal to 50. And finally, if it's over 50, okay, then it's where price is greater than 50. All right. I believe at least, all that's working. All right. And this is basically, all right, using the query expression. query expression syntax shown below. All right, and right underneath that, so right when this finishes, right here, I'm going to do it again and say, instead of query expression syntax, we're going to say method-based syntax. But I'm going to comment it out because we only want to run these once. Okay. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to put it in, but I'm going to do it like this. So if filter equal all, all right, so that'll handle the first one. That's all. So we need on there. Let's put this over multiple lines. When you chain like this, you can do that. So I've got the items.order by, and I'm going to just put that on its own line down here. And I've got another order by right here. But before I do the order by, I'm going to do a where. And then another dot here. Again, this is typically referred to as chaining. Okay. All right, that's it for that one. Just copy this down here. This is the syntax we've been using so far, the query-based syntax. So this is the one I'm going to keep up here. All right. So if it equals all, we want to just grab everything. Okay. If it's under 10, we want to grab everything as long as the item price is less than 10. If it's between 10 and 50, we want to grab everything as long as the item price is greater than or equal to 50. I'm sorry, greater than or equal to 10 and less than or equal to 50. And if it's this one, we want to grab it if the item price is greater than 50. All right, I'm putting this in here so you can see the other way that it can be set up. Just for right now, if you just concentrate on the query expression, you'll be fine. Inventory item. Now we don't want to say, now we want to do the updating here. All right, so we'll do this first. So the first thing we want to do is, as it says there, is we want to make sure that rather than having it go through items, we want it to go through our filtered items. Okay. Then we want to test the application to be sure that it displays the items in alphabetic order and it does the filtering the way that it's supposed to. Okay, so let's run that and see if that's working. No idea if it will or not. So there's all. There's under 10, and they're in alphabetic order. There is 10 to 50. There's only one, so it's in order. There's over 50, and there's only one there. And there's all. So, and that is in alphabetic order. So that's all working. That's a good start. So again, what did I do in here? I came in and wrote query expression syntax. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, feel free. There's the all in the first if statement. Then in the first else, or in the if statement is the all. In the first else if is the under $10. In the second else if, it is $10 to $50. And in the third else if, it's over $50. So we put that in. Since we're now working with filtered items instead of items, we then went in and changed this from items to filtered items, and it appears to be working. All right. Now, what I can do, just to see if my method stuff, if I wrote it correctly or not, because I don't know if I did. So for now, at least, let's comment this out. And let's uncomment this. And let's see if it still works. Well, notice I spelled filtered. I said item instead of item. There's one mistake. And is it filtered items? Yes, it is. Okay, so let's run it again and see if I wrote the method-based stuff correctly or not. Okay, I've got error. Okay. I don't know how that happened, but that even shouldn't even be in there. Shouldn't that be an and? That looks better. All right, let's try that again. All, and it's in alphabetic order, under 10, and it's in alphabetic order. The other two, there's just one, so there's really no order. But this is between, that is over 50. That is between 10 and 50. That is under 10. And that is everything. So my filtering is working whether I use query-based or method-based syntax. All right. I like the query-based for where we are right now. So I'm going to uncomment this. And I'm going to comment out this. All right. Okay. Again, update the for each. So we had to change that from items to filtered items. We did test the application and it did work. So I believe at least I'm through step 8 now. That sounds good. All right. Let's go take a look and see what's on, what comes after that. So add the following new item to inventory. All right. Notice that the new item is sorted so that it appears alphabetically in the display. Use the combo box to show items between 10 and 50 and make sure that's displayed. All right. All right, so let's do number 9. So I'm going to just grab everything that's here and I'm going to open this up so I can just put it in there. So we got that, we've got that, and we've got that. Okay. So I want to run the program again and I want to put in these 3 things. Right? Let me grab that and push it down here. So let's run the program again. Let's add an item. This will be the item number. This will be the description. This will be the price. Now we're showing all, so it should put it in there and it should put it in between this and this. So let's see if that does. And there it is. All right. When we filter now between 10 and 50, that's now in there and it's in alphabetic order. So that's working. All right. Then we're told to go ahead and look in our file. So on the C drive, remember that's where we're grabbing this from. I think that's at least where we're grabbing it from, but we'll find out in a second. Let's see. Well, we've got it here. There it is. And it's not in alphabetic order. Okay. So we've now done everything they've asked us to do through step 8. All right. So let's continue on. We did 9 rather. Okay. We did 10. All right. So we got to do 11 through 15. Run the application. Select the item you added in step 9 and choose delete. Notice the confirmation message identifies the wrong item for deletion. Click cancel and exit. So let's check and see if that's true. It says Lymphonia beads because this is doing it, I believe at least. It hasn't updated the order, so to speak. So it says to just cancel that. So we did that. Display the delete button and comment out the line of code that uses the selected index. All right. So this is step 12 of 15. So display the delete event handler, got that, in the form, and comment out the line of code that uses the selected index of the list view control to get the selected thing from the collection. All right. Line right there. As you can see, we get an error because we're commenting out I and we're immediately using it here. So we should be changing this then in the next line. So let's grab this comment and let's put it actually right there. Okay. All right. Add code that uses the selected index value. Add code that uses the selected index value to retrieve the display text from the item's list view control. Okay, not sure exactly what they're asking, but we're going to figure it out. So you want to look at this again. I mean, we're getting there. We're on step 12 of 15. So no, we're on step 13 of 15. I think what they want in here is rather than using this, the selected index, they want us to come in here. Whoops, not that. Come on. They want us to come in here. I'm going to just grab that, copy, paste. I think they want selected item instead of selected index. All right. I think that's what they want. Don't worry about that. If there's an error, we'll look at it in just a second. That's all right. But I want to grab the comment. Oops, grab the comment from our book. We're on number 13. Okay. So add the code to retrieve this from that. So it's giving me an error. And it's telling me we have to cast it. Okay. That makes sense because the item is the actual code itself. And I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we'll see. All right, now we're up to step 14. Use a link query to get the, well, let's do this. Copy all that. And now we want to come in here and use a link query, which I don't think we're doing it right now. So we want to do that in here. We don't need that. And I think we want to come in here and do this. Now I didn't put it in comments foolishly. Okay. All right. We're actually very close to being finished here. All right, so we're up to step 14 here. So we want to add code right here. All right. Use a link query to get the selected inventory item object from the inventory items collection. The query should select the item whose display text property is equal to the display text value you just retrieved. Note, to do this, all right, to do this, you need to use the first or the first default. Because of that, you should use a method-based query. All right. So string, this will be the display text. So this is the text that we're choosing, and that's going to be equal to lst items.items.I dot toString. It's toString, not toString. Items I. Okay, it's getting there. So that's the actual stuff itself. Then we want to say inventory item equal items dot where item all right, give me errors. Let's see if we can. String display text equal lst items sub I dot toString. And since it could be null, we need an exclamation point there. Okay, that fixed that. All right, inventory item equals items dot where item lambda item dot get display text is equal to the display text dot first or default paren. There we go. Now let's go back and look at this. the display text, this is what we chose. So we're not working with position, we're working with the text that we just chose. And we want to see if that matches anything that's in our current file. All right, so that's step 14. Run the app and try to delete the item you added in step 9. This time, the confirm message should give you the correct inventory item. Click OK to delete the item and exit the application. All right, so File, Save All. There it is, the creeping locks. And now when we say delete item, oh my goodness. Let me do this. I'm going to take this line of code that we put in there, this line, this one here, add code that uses a selected index value to retrieve. I'm going to take that line of code that we had in here. All right, it says, comment out the line of code that uses selected index. This has got to be index. This is the only way that this makes sense. Right? And then we don't need the cast. So let's try it like that. So File, Save All. So run it again. There's our creeping flocks. Delete. Are you sure you want to delete? And now it's got the right name. Say yes, it's gone. Plus, if we check between 10 and 50, it's not there anymore either. So everything is working, everything in here. So let's go back and double check. Look at all this from the get-go. So if you want to go in and copy this, do screenshots or whatever, you can do this. First code we had to add was right here. All right, this was our query-based syntax. I did them both, but I commented out the method-based. So if the filter was equal to all, then our filtered items is everything. Select every item. There's no where on there. So this will select everything. Otherwise, if we chose items under 50, it's the same query, but we added a where clause that says only select the ones where the item's price is not less than 50, less than 10. So that's that one. Then for the 10 to 50, we updated our where statement to say where it's greater than or equal to 10 and it's less than or equal to 50. Finally, for our last one of over 50, we again change this where clause. So the only time we don't have a where clause in here is if we're selecting all or everything. Okay, hopefully that makes at least a little bit of sense. Then I went back and redid this using the method-based syntax. So you can see what that one looked like. All right. And with that one, as you can see here, we use the lambda syntax. Okay. Now this would all fit on one line. So we could have put that all on one line like this, and that would have been fine. In fact, probably just about all of it would have fit on one line. All right. So if that makes it easier for you to read, now this one won't fit on one line here, but you can see it. And this one, again, we could put on one line. And when I say it wouldn't fit, it just is going to scroll off the screen. So that's it collapsed down. So when you use method-based, you're calling methods. You're calling the order by method. You're calling the where method. So notice the capital. This was in our book. For now, if you only want to concern yourself with this part of the assignment, with the query expression syntax, that's totally fine to write it like this. All right, then we had to go into the for each statement. This originally said items. We had to change that from items to filtered items. And then all right, we wanted to come in here and we wanted to run the program to make sure we didn't break anything. All right. And that's what we did, was we ran it to make sure, all right. Then we came down here, we made change nothing in our add, but in our delete, we made some changes. All right. It told us to remove this. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. All right. But I put it back in again exactly as it was, and it appeared at least to be working. So I'm not sure with this one, if this, where it says display the delete event handler, comment out the line of code that uses the selected index value to get the, all right. So I'm just going to grab that whole thing and I'm going to remove it. Okay. Add the code that uses the selected index right here. So we've got this. And again, we don't need the int. We don't need that anymore. All right, we can move all this over. Okay. All right. So the other stuff that we added then was in here. I commented out this line. Maybe that's what they were talking about in step 12. Not sure. Where it said inventory item equal items. I got rid of that. Then we wanted to write a query, but since we were using the first or default, we must do that as a method-based query. So that is right here. Good news is it wasn't much to add. It's right there. So this line right here, this first line, will create a local variable named display text, which represents the text of the selected list box item. All right, so that's what this line here is doing. And it's possible it could be null, so we need this is the method. Oh my goodness, come on. This is the method-based link query. All right, which as it says here, let's grab all of this. All right. So this explains basically what's going on here. In other words, as it says here, this link query just reading the text here, should select the item where the display text that we have just chosen is equal to something that is actually in our file. So to do this, as it says here, what we needed to do was we needed to write a method query. And we had to do that because if you want to use the first or default, which is what we want to do, you must do it like that. You must use a method based. All right, now, what I have done, I don't know if this is good, bad, or indifferent. Please, when you are filling out your course evaluations, you will get those near the end of the semester. If you think this guy doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground, that's what you should write down. If you think, hey, this really helped me a lot, you should write that down. Just be honest. All right. So we have now gone over 17.1. I still have an error I got to fix in there. And 18.1, and I showed you the code. We've also said that you will have nothing. You will not have to do 4.3. We will look at that next week. All right. You have to do your chapter 17 and 18. And I have actually already done the song list, the employee search, and a start on the student grades. So tomorrow you should be working on this stuff. If you have questions, as always, I'll be online. Also, be sure you are at least thinking of your final project. Take a look at it. Start thinking, oh, link. All right. How am I going to have to do this? You probably could go out and just about build the interface for your main form and your sub form right now. All right, I think you could do that. Also, and I thought I had it open, evidently I don't. So let me open it now. The other thing you have to be thinking about is your electronic portfolio. All right. Now, the electronic portfolio was worth 150 points. The final project is worth 200 points. That's 350 points. That's 3.5 tests. That's low grade and bringing it way up, or enough to take a high grade and make it fail. All right. So it's important that you be working on this stuff as soon as possible. That's why, again, for the rest of the semester, you are going to get every Thursday as a lab day. All right. So Monday, on Monday, all right, we will go over chapter 19 in the book. It's going to take a while. I'm going to show you at least one tool that you may want to download or you may not. It's going to be up to you for what we're going to be doing. I'm going to strongly suggest you do download it. But again, it's your call. All right. Okay. So with that said, it's 11:30. I've been going for 3.5 hours. I think that's pretty good for today. And I will talk to you on Monday. Have a good weekend. As always, I'm going to be online for the next 4 hours. All right, till 3:30 this afternoon. So if you've got questions, please let me know or email me, jpscott@rankin.edu. If necessary, we can even set up a Teams meeting. Okay, have a good weekend. Talk to you on Monday.